there's a question here for me. How do you decide which crafts to accept for giveaways and auctions? Also, how do you decide which prizes are giveaways and which are auctions? So, for the Craftalong, what I do generally is I'll go through the list. I try to make sure I have a list of prizes that are broad, so it covers a range of different craft styles, materials, themes. Like, I don't want to get like 15 magic themed ones, for example. I try and mix it up. I try and have stuff that's, you know, more niche than other ones, and I try and find, it's like, oh, we haven't had, you know, something from Sailor Moon on last year,
right,
so
right.
I'll make sure if I see something that's like that, it's like, I'll make sure, if I can get it, I'll get it.
Right, because like the internet runs hot and cold with certain like properties.
Yes, exactly.
And Craftalong opens in February, March, May.
Yeah, they
May.
usually
It opens
open
quite
in May.
early.
Yes.
Right, so you want to. I'd imagine there's a fine line between like getting on the new hotness, which may not be the new hotness by the time Desert Bus fully rolls around.
No,
right?
Yeah, you are correct in that.
Yeah, like there's probably a bit of anticipatory or favoring things that are evergreen, but also wanting something new.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There are some like pretty evergreen stuff, like Mario stuff, Zelda stuff, that comes along pretty commonly. But then we get stuff like this year was a big Elden Ring year, obviously, because it came out just before the Craftalong launched. So we've got like 3 or 4 different Elden Ring themed prizes. Pokemon is another very common one. So that's sort of what I do. I try and make sure, and I also try and make sure that I have a mix of returning crafters, but I also try and make sure I have a mix of new crafters. Like, I try and make sure there's space for new people that have not been a part of the Craftalong before, because I don't want it to feel like, oh, this is an exclusive thing and it's very hard to get into the Craftalong. No, I take in, you know, probably like 1 or 2 dozen new people every year. So I never want anyone to feel like it's like, oh, there's no way I could ever get into this. Absolutely not the case. As for how I decide what is a giveaway or what is an auction, pretty much all of our corporate prizes are giveaways, just because they are, with few exceptions, just like a product. And that works really well as a giveaway. Like a booster box of Magic cards is something that has like a street value.
Right, yeah, or like the limited edition of a game.
Exactly.
Right, like the Elden Ring LE that we had a few days ago.
It's like you could, something like that that's very easy to put a price on works really well as a giveaway, because you can just be like, cool, this is a booster box of Magic cards, we're doing a giveaway for, you know, $5. Get yourself a super cheap box of cards. Whereas a lot of the Craftalong stuff works better as auctions, because they are entirely unique.
Well, yeah, because auctions are kind of like a hype thing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're very high energy. They're exciting to watch.
Yeah.
And like, I always get the impression that crafters like that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Right. Like they've put a lot of time into this item.
So for live auctions, we only do about like 4 or 5 live auctions every year. So it really tends to be like the items that like catch my eye, and it's like, this is astounding, and I think this would be something that people would get very, very excited to bid on. For silent auctions, that tends to be items that I think don't necessarily have a ton of broad appeal, but would have a very strong appeal to certain people. So it's like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that get excited about this, but I think there are going to be a few people that are going to be very, very excited about this. And that's what makes a very good silent auction, for the ones that like fit into a very narrow category. And there's a lot, like there's so many things that we have to do, and only so many silent auctions, so it's sort of like I sort of get the stuff that I think would work best, and then there's probably like 10 or 12 that could go either way. So there's a bit of leeway there in that. And then pretty much everything else, the stuff that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about, that sort of have very broad appeal, those are the ones that tend to end up as giveaways. So that's pretty much my process for figuring all of those things out.